All right, the 3 games we have tabbed to fully preview are great ones. Let's start in the Big 12. Let's go with Texas Tech at K-State. This is a matchup that you're probably thinking, why are we talking about Kansas State? Didn't we write them off? Well, they just went in and drubbed a Kansas team for about the 950th time in a row. Texas Tech has an absolute horrendous situation going on at quarterback. Joey McGuire's group having quarterback problems. Have we heard this story before? Jake, break this game down for us.
Yeah, the casuals probably thought Chris Kleiman was fired already by this point, if we're being honest, and people just kind of forgot about it. But Kansas State is playing some really good football within the Big 12, and they're starting to look like the preseason Big 12 favorite that everybody kind of picked. It just makes this really fascinating because as a Big 12 fan, I kind of want some carnage and just the craziness that this league brings every weekend. But if you are a real Big 12 fan, you don't want Texas Tech to slip up in this spot. And it feels like a tough one. Like, is Baron Morton finally healthy? Because you have no Will Hammond. You have no Will Hammond to go to anymore. It sounds like McGuire made the decision last week they could have played Morton, but they were playing Oklahoma State, and I could have beaten Oklahoma State. So they were good throwing out Will Hammond there. Out for the year. In comes Mitch Griffiths. He takes care of business. So we'll see if Baron Morton can finish a game. I think that's honestly one of the biggest questions we have right now. I think the biggest regression we've seen from Texas Tech the last couple of weeks is the ability to run the football. And Cameron Dickey, who was lights out in the beginning of the year, replaced, was it Quentin Joyner from USC. And it looked like they found a really good back, and he just hasn't been able to get over that 100-yard mark the last couple of weeks. And you're going up against the Kansas State defense and a linebacking core led by Austin Romaine that people forget this is one of the best units in the Big 12. They fly around. They're really good at stopping the run. They're going to give some fits. So let's see if Baron Morton's healthy. Let's see if they can beat him through the air. I think VJ Payne in that secondary is still susceptible through the air. TCU proved that. Sawyer Robertson and Baylor proved that. I don't think this Kansas State team's figured everything out as of yet. And the reason they've been able to kind of shadow some things, they forced 2 or more turnovers in every game in the last 5 games. They've actually forced 3 turnovers in every game outside of the Baylor game where they forced 2, and that kind of cost them the game. So it just comes down to, for me, Avery Johnson's just going to have to be special. I don't see them having very much success running the football with Joe Jackson. He's going to have to use his legs, improvise, and he can't throw costly turnovers that have cost him a couple of games. He's only thrown, I'd have to look it up, 5 picks this year. Like, he's been pretty good, but maybe it's just 2. Yeah, he's been really good, but it feels like some of the turnovers just come at really poor times. And the Baylor game comes to mind. So Avery Johnson's going to have to be damn near perfect if they want to pull off this upset in Manhattan.
Yeah, just to keep going on that, this isn't the normal Kansas State run game you're used to seeing in the Kleiman era. I think there's things at factor like Jake was just touching on. 4.4 yards of rush doesn't scream, a struggling run game, but it's been because they've had to run it so many times. Like, it's been consistent, just kind of going back into it. Kind of what does Baron Morton look like? Is he look healthy? Sounds like he's going to be fine, ready to go. This is the best run game and offensive line Kansas State's seen in their winning streak, and it's not really particularly close. 5.2 yards a carry right now is what Tech's got, understanding that it's kind of slowed down in some spots. But I think, when they were struggling, it was more so like, I dare you to take a quarterback that hasn't played a ton of snaps and beat us through the air. So how does Kansas State kind of do that? I understand the linebacking core is really good. The defensive front's not, a Kansas State primetime group. So they might have a chance to get pushed around a little bit here. But can Douglas and Eakin really go to work here? This is where, like you were saying, Jake, Kansas State's kind of gotten eaten alive by a really good receiver the entire year. Tech's got 3 of them that they really like. I just wanted to highlight Douglas and Eakin. Those are the guys that really pop the top here for a lot of what Texas Tech has rolling. What does this really mean for either fan base, right? If you come at us with a win, if you come or a loss in this case, I'm going to go loss because I think it really changes the, perception of what Joey McGuire and what Texas Tech are doing. And it really, with the win, what it does for Kansas State is kind of just say, man, we got off to a rocky start, but Kleiman's still a hell of a football coach, and we like having him around in Manhattan. So, like Jake said, you probably don't want Tech slipping up if you're a Big 12 fan. You want this conference to remain prestigious and have kind of that head honcho at the top of the pack. But this isn't an easy game to go win. Like I think they may have learned a lesson going into Tempe and London, but this is a different animal. I think this is a Kansas State team that feels really good about themselves right now.
Yeah, I think the key is the way Kansas State's been playing, and maybe the college football world has written them off more than even we're saying on the show. There's nothing more dangerous or as dangerous as people realize than a talented team that's playing without the expectation anymore and an atmosphere that can be created in Manhattan. And I'm not saying it's going to be, Lord knows, maybe they'll sell it out. It's a top 10, it's a top 15 team in college football coming into town with a quarterback controversy or injury situation that could lead to some interesting things. But at this point, if you're Kansas State, you're playing spoiler for your conference. And they have the talent to do so. Granted, they've had some guys leave, but if you can get after Morton, which they will, and then get Griffiths in the game, it's not a guy that has no experience, but he hasn't really played a full season since 2023 at Wake. He threw for over 1,500 yards, but he also threw 7 picks and 9 touchdowns. Like he had a turnover problem there. So if you can get after the quarterback, like Kansas State hopes they can do against a really good offensive line for Texas Tech, you're going to put yourself in a really good spot. I think the atmosphere will be obviously more than what college football would think for a underperforming Kansas State team. And if they can do that, I think we can get an interesting storyline here. This is the type of game that in a week where you're like, man, there's no really massive games. There's no Alabama, Georgia this week. This is a bad slate. This is the type of game to sneak up on you and Kansas State beat a top 15 team. That's just where we're at with the sport this year. Reese, bless you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think when you're looking at this one, we're talking about Morton, you're talking about Johnson, but I think the eyes for this one is going to go to Texas Tech and that defense. Talk about K-State, they're on the little winning streak they're on. They've scored 34 in 4 straight games. Like, yeah, it's going to help out and win, but this is probably the best defense I think they've seen probably since, I don't know, week 0 when they went to Ireland, I would say so far. Really haven't looked that great, I would say. I mean, Rodriguez is a stud. Like, and this team, they got 15 turnovers. They got 18 sacks. So, like, they're going to pressure Johnson. Like, if they're going to – the issue is they can't let Johnson get creative and extend plays with his legs. Like, if they're going to get him, it has to be in the back. They have to keep him in the pocket because if he gets out of the pocket, extend plays, guys get open, crazy things happens, or he's going to go pick up some yards. So, too, is like – and Texas Tech hasn't won in Manhattan since 2008, so, like, that's something you got to go in there and accomplish. That's just history in college football you got to go and handle. And we talk about, like, you know, JT's a big Avery Johnson hater, but Shaver mentioned he's only got 2 turnovers on the year through the year, 15 touchdowns. Like, he's playing at a clip that we kind of expected in preseason. Much improved. Yeah. But then it's the Texas Tech offense, like Morton, if he's healthy, I think the key to them is they have to get up early and they got to make Kansas State play catch up, because I think at K-State, if you're going to make Johnson throw the football more and make him not use his legs, which I think is kind of something they want to lean on, especially with that backfield they have. They've been bring out Jace Brown and Jason Tibbs are also kind of guys that go a long run with him well too. But the big thing that helps out Baron Morton too is like this offensive line has been solid for Texas Tech. They've only been giving up I think it's 11 sacks so far in 8 games. Morton's been sacked 6 times. Like we talk about that K-State defensive front, like they got to get pressure on Morton if they want to keep this thing close at the end. But like I said, if you're Texas Tech, you're going on the road to places you haven't won in 17 years. You got to get up early and you got to keep the pressure on. You can't let it go away at any point. And you got to get a couple takeaways too from an offense that's just clicking right now too. So,
all right, let's go to picks in this Big 12 matchup. Kansas State is a 7.5-point dog at home right now. We have 7. We'll decide which one we're going to put on the ATS board closer to the end of the week. Gentlemen, who do you like against the spread? Who are you taking? Jake, you first.
Yeah, I need Jace Brown to be special on Saturday, kind of like he was against KU. 7.5, doesn't matter.
You had 7.
I'll take the touchdown. That's fine. If we get a push, so be it. But feels like it could get weird in Manhattan on Saturday. Parks, I think you made a great point about a team that's talented that has nothing to lose. I think that's similar to kind of it's a team that I feel like similar in names, and I have good vibes about both teams going into this weekend.
All right, JP, I'll go to you. I had my pick in mind, then Jake made his, but I remember reading the text from Jake last week saying, basically, if you want to win your ATS pick, don't take what I take.
I was also 0-3 at the time, and I finished 5-5. This is a little
he figured it out.
but
Early,
yeah,
just a little early negativity. All right, I'll get mine then. I'm taking the home dog in the situation. I think the atmosphere is going to be better than people realize. The team, the school, they had the expectation for a reason. Give me K-State. I'll take the 7 points. Get after the quarterback. We'll see what can happen. Let's do college football parity in week 10 and keep it going. JP.
Yeah, somebody might say that this look ahead spot here for Tech, knowing BYU's a big game next week. I don't think so, especially when you're coming off a bye and a loss. You want one bad. So I'm going to take Kansas State plus some points, though. I think they have a chance to win here just based on the Big 12 and what the college football season has been to this point. But there's a reality where we're quick out of the gates, and Texas Tech just runs away with this late.
Reese.
I'll go the opposite side, boys. I'm going to go Tech in this spot. I think Morton's going to be in there. He's going to be healthy. They'll keep him upright. They'll get a lead. I think Avery Johnson got to play catch up. I trust his Tech defense. Do we forget what they did on the road in Utah? Was that week 3, whatever week they was in Bachelor Party? Like close game, and then we opened it up. So I'll take Tech in the spot. They've done it before.
All right. It's not a dumb pick. You can't go against that, and he's going to make us all look like idiots. I just had that gut feeling. But 3 on K-State, 1 on Texas Tech to kick off the Week 10